Welcome to the Carroll Center. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 2014 Annual Carroll Awards. My name is Tina Rosenbaum, and I am your hostess today. The Carroll Awards campaign is a joint effort between the Carroll Center for the Blind, a private nonprofit agency providing rehabilitation and training to individuals with vision loss, and the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind, the agency that directs all state services for legally blind persons in the Commonwealth. The purpose of this awards campaign is to publicly acknowledge the achievements and contributions that are being made by persons in the workforce who happen to be blind or visually impaired. By emphasizing the competence, achievement, and job diversity of the award winners, the campaign strives to have a positive effect on the attitudinal barriers that often confront persons who are blind or visually impaired seeking employment or job advancement. In addition, the campaign recognizes the employers who stand out among private, public, and government agencies for their support and provision of an inclusive work environment. The Carroll Awards were named in memory of Reverend Thomas J. Carroll, a leader in the field of blindness who pioneered new opportunities in rehabilitation and vocational development, based on the principles first established with blinded veterans of World War II. His legacy lives on today through the Carroll Center for the Blind, which together with the Commission for the Blind provides vocational rehabilitation, technology training, educational services, and vocational opportunities for persons who are blind or visually impaired. Before we meet today's award recipients, I invite Joe Agley, President of the Carroll Center, to provide a welcome.
Thank you, Tina, and good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I'd like to recognize a couple of people in the audience. Our board chair, Carol Box. Board members, Carol Covell and Arthur O'Neill. I thought I saw Arthur somewhere. And our former longtime president, Rachel Rosenbaum. Carroll Center is very pleased to be joining with Commissioner Paul Senior and Deputy Commissioner John Oliveira and the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind in this long-running campaign that celebrates the success of the outstanding individuals we honor today. The Carroll Center and the Commission have been presenting the Carroll Society Awards since 1983. A lot has happened over that period of time that has enhanced employment opportunities, not the least of which has been the wealth of adaptive technology complemented by expanded training programs provided by the Mass Commission for the Blind and the Carroll Center. But with these enhanced opportunities comes a different set of employment challenges. We live in a very different economic times where job loss and unemployment in the entire population is more commonplace than it was 30 years ago. Despite the advances in technology and the availability of training from the Commission and the Carroll Center, the unemployment rate among the blind and visually impaired is a maddening 70%. Today's award recipients successfully took advantage of the training and tools available to them and have achieved success in spite of the economy. What that tells me is that there is a great potential within the blindness community for potential employees who are prepared to meet the challenges of obtaining employment and job advancement to eventually become as successful as today's awardees. I continue to be impressed with the wealth of talent in the community, and it inspires me to consider how the Carroll Center can work even harder with the Commission to introduce the rest of the employment world to the talents that can be provided by persons who are blind and visually impaired. I want to congratulate each of the awardees for their success. I would also like to take the opportunity to recognize the employers for their foresight. These employers provided the opportunity for talented people who worked hard and persevered. It does continue to be my personal mission to find more employers who will provide that opportunity. Again, congratulations to all the award recipients, and I wish you continued success. I'd now like to introduce Paul Sanger, Commissioner of the Mass Commission for the Blind.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very thrilled to be here. I don't think I've ever seen the Rachel Rosenbach Technology Center with so many people in it. It's wonderful to be here. This is an event that I have personally enjoyed over many years. A number of my friends have been inducted. I really enjoy learning about people. I had a chance to read ahead a little bit last night, the profiles of the people that will be introduced to you shortly. They represent the best of our consumers, of which we have many. I would like to congratulate the inductees to the Carroll Society, starting with an old acquaintance, Henry Applebaum. And I'd also like to extend best wishes to Jason and OT and Carmela. And I would also obviously like to acknowledge the winner of the Mass Blind Employee of the Year, Michael Cavarzano. He is someone who you'll be hearing about in greater detail, an extraordinary 54-year career at Perkins. And I know personally well from my involvement with the Perkins Library as well as with the Mass Blind Legislative Day, how integral the volunteer corps of Perkins is to many, many significant activities of the blindness community. He is not the only Perkins employee who has received this honor over the years. Kim Charlson was a previous winner. I think it's very appropriate on this occasion to ask that everyone here please give a round of applause to the new CEO and President of Perkins, Dave Powers. Dave and I have had a chance to get together a couple of times recently, and we talk about the possibilities around collaboration, involving the three agencies that are so well represented today, MCV, Perkins, and the Carroll Center. And the proof is in the pudding. Just this morning, Deputy Commissioner Oliveira and MCV's Chief of Staff, Mario Piatto, and I had a meeting with Verinda Wright, who runs the Massachusetts operations of Perkins, other than the library, and Joe Agley. We had some out-of-town guests, and we were talking about a potential new employment initiative. MCV is, as I'm sure everyone knows, a vocational rehabilitation agency, meaning one of our principal programs is all about employment. And we have plenty of resources to bring to bear on that objective. Some of the things that we do in the employment realm include sponsoring legally blind consumers to attend the Carroll Center's independent living program. Consumers are eligible for additional services after graduating from the independent living program, including assistive technology, orientation and mobility, rehab teaching. Those are the cornerstones, as you all know, to regaining productive independence. We do a lot around job preparation and placement. We have a nationally recognized transition internship program for principally younger consumers. We, along with Perkins and Carroll, have an annual job fair that this year will be morphed into a hiring event in addition to a job fair. I want to mention that MCV, along with the other disability agencies, has an upcoming Disability Employment Consumer Conference on June 19th in Norwood. This is an opportunity for consumers and advocates and service providers and employers to meet in an educational setting. We have a couple of openings for this event coming up in the next couple of weeks, and so if there are any vocational rehabilitation consumers of MCVs that would like to attend the consumer conference, please seek out Susan Lavin of MCV, who's here today, or you can get her through the office. I just want to mention a couple of personal thoughts relative to employment. Don't do what I did in my early to late 20s. I was in between jobs and I had no network. I didn't know what a network was. And so I have spent the rest of my life vowing to never be networkless. And a network is a two-way street. It's an opportunity to not just ask people for information, but also to help others. I'll also mention, to me, the importance of mentorship. So when I was declared legally blind in '91, I wasn't ready, but I immediately befriended some older blind folks that were very successful professionals, and that really helped me imagine the possibilities post-blindness. I think it's befitting, since Mike is all about volunteers, to also mention that as someone who's done a lot of hiring over the years, when I look at somebody's resume, if they have significant volunteer experience, to me that counts as much as if they were employed. Perhaps even more so, because it shows a commitment to one's community, a willingness to provide leadership. And so certainly not everyone is in a position to run out and immediately volunteer, but I just wanted to let you know that that is, from an employer's point of view, a very important component of one's resume. Lastly, I'll say that in general, blindness is feared, as many of you know. And for me, the best measure in the workplace or in an interview is to express quiet confidence around one's blindness skill. And if you need to be led into an interview room because you haven't had orientation to that particular place, let the person that you're interviewing know that, yes, I needed some help getting into this interview, but I want to assure you that if you give me this job, I will, with the help of MCB, be able to get oriented to this environment. I want to underscore that MCB is there not to just get our consumers a job, but for them to retain their jobs, so we, with our ample resources, are available to continue to support consumers in their employment endeavors. So it's a privilege to be with you today, and without further ado, I'll turn it over to Dina to move on with the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul and Joe. Just a reminder to turn off your cell phones so we don't get interrupted during the program. Today's award recipients represent a wide variety of professions and occupations. They have demonstrated that a person with vision loss can and do work in competitive jobs. But the individuals today are not just being honored because they hold these positions. We are recognizing them today because they perform their jobs with the highest degree of skill and competence. And in doing so, they have contributed to the success of the companies they work for. In many cases, their colleagues and management had little or no experience in working with a blind person. There are some who had reservations on how a person who is blind could do the job effectively. Today's award recipients have dispelled any questions about the ability and potential that a person with vision loss can bring to an organization, and as a result, are helping to pave the way for other visually impaired persons to demonstrate their abilities. The Carroll Award consists of two components. One is membership into the Carroll Society, and the second is the Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment. The Carroll Society is a select group of legally blind employees who have made outstanding achievements on the job. Through hard work, ability, commitment, and dedication, they have earned the respect and admiration of management, co-workers, and customers for their valuable contribution to the workforce. The Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment is given to a previously selected member of the Carroll Society who demonstrates these qualities to the highest degree, thereby earning the title of Blind Employee of the Year. The Carroll Awards, as Joe said, were created in 1981, and today there are 188 members of the Carroll Society. I would like, we have many Carroll Society awardee members in the audience. If they could stand for a minute so we can give them some recognition. The awards committee that makes the selections of these outstanding individuals consists of staff from both the Commission for the Blind, and I would ask them to stand for a second. Sue Lavin, Inky Alla, and Alan White from the Commission. And from the Carroll Center, myself, Brian Charlson, and Bob Gilbert. The committee considers all the basic characteristics that make for a good employee, but more importantly, we look for special qualities that distinguish this person, making him or her a valuable member of the department or company they work for. Characteristics that demonstrate to those around them that vision is not required for success. We don't just look for a person to go to work every day, but for individuals whose achievements also spills over into their community. We are looking for people who are making a difference. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce you to this year's new members of the Carroll Society. Henry Applebaum. Henry Applebaum is a research associate at Scapin's Eye Research Institute in Boston, where he has been employed since 2000. A graduate of the University of Pennsylvania with a mathematics degree, Henry completed extensive graduate work in electrical engineering. That is comparable to a computer science major today, but it was not yet an option in 1967. He worked for various companies in Pennsylvania before moving to Michigan in 1982. At the time, Henry and his wife Doris were living in Ann Arbor. He had been commenting on how cloudy the nights were there. that there were no stars in the sky. Turns out it wasn't the nights that were cloudy, he recalled. It was really the loss of night vision that he was experiencing as a result of RT. So it was not a complete surprise to Henry when he received the diagnosis of retinitis pigmentosa in 1983 at the age of 41. A little more than 2 years earlier, his older sister had received the same news. He also noticed that increasingly he was bumping into colleagues as he made his way around the office cubicles and walkways. My feeling at the time of the diagnosis was that there are much worse things that could happen. I had other things to worry about, like raising a family and doing well at work. Soon after, the software systems designer and his family moved to Massachusetts, where he had been offered a job at Digital Equipment Corporation. And after monitoring his increasing visual symptoms, and on the advice of his sister, Henry met with Dr. Elliot Burson, an internationally renowned researcher at the Bergman Gun Laboratory at the Massachusetts Eye and Ear Infirmary. Henry participated in a study with Dr. Burson in which he would take large daily doses of vitamin A. To this day, Henry feels that this is the best course of treatment for RP patients. Whenever anyone asks me what I do to prevent further deterioration of my sight, I tell them that nothing is as effective as vitamin A. In his initial visits with Dr. Burson, Henry was given a number of tests to determine the extent of damage with an electroretinogram, or an ERG, which Henry describes as sort of an EKG for the eyes. In fact, the ERG can detect if a person as young as 6 will eventually get the disease. Following Henry's diagnosis, Dr. Burson examined Henry's young daughter, Rosalind. With great confidence, he told Henry and his wife that Rosalind was not in danger of getting RP, but she was a carrier, which would only affect future generations if she married another carrier. Now an adult, Rosalind is married to Joshua Chaplin, likely a non-carrier, as they are the parents of 2 healthy children, Lincoln 3 and Sydney, who was born in January. Once Henry and his family moved to Massachusetts, the now legally blind computer systems analyst and designer, who was a study volunteer at the Vision Rehabilitation Laboratory of the Scapin's Eye Research Institute, was asked to try a new device designed for field expansion that was being developed by senior scientist and lab director, Professor Ellie Pelly. Henry provided detailed written feedback describing in depth his experience on a personal and scientific basis, which actually led to a change in the design that improved the performance of the device. We decided that it would be great to have somebody with Henry's capabilities join our vision rehabilitation research at Scapin, Pelly said. We worked with Henry on a supplementary grant application to the National Institute of Health that enabled us to hire Henry for the first 2 years of his employment over 10 years ago. Since that time, Henry has become a major contributor to the lab's research output and has authored a number of research papers published in a variety of prestigious scientific journals. In addition, he is responsible for maintaining and operating the lab's extensive computer backup system and securing the operation of more than 50 computers. At work, Henry uses magnification when needed. To keep little things like pens and paper clips from escaping his line of vision, Henry keeps small items in specific places at all times so he doesn't lose them. Zebra-striped tape on the laboratory floors mark a path that lab members know to keep free of obstacles that might trip him and the lab's low-vision study participants. Blue tape is placed on the edges of doors so they can avoid collision with open doors. Henry has received orientation and mobility instruction through the Mass Commission for the Blind. In his nomination of Henry, Professor Pelly noted, "The fact that he is visually impaired happens to be a distinct advantage in our business. But that is not why I chose him for this distinction. I truly believe that Henry represents the best in rehabilitation, an employee that is outstanding, irrespective of his vision impairment. He is a person who achieved quite impressive academic feats in the area of vision rehabilitation research, and thus contributes to the better function and productivity of others." Today, Henry lives in Salem with his wife, Doris. He loves his job that it often spills over to his home life. As an engineer, he fixes everything around the house. He collects and solves Rubik's Cubes and puzzles as a hobby. Today, Henry is accompanied today by Dr. Alex Bauer. Please welcome Henry into the Carroll Society.
You're in the middle, all you're to the left, Joe, you're to the right. There you are. Everybody give them a round of applause. Nicely done. Let's do it again. Look up. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations, Henry.
Go to your right. You go to your left.
Right. A little bit over. Okay. For our next presentation, I invite Sue Lavin to come up.
Thank you, Gina. I have the pleasure of introducing Pam Fernandez. Pam is the cycling camp coordinator for the U.S. Association of Blind Athletes in Colorado, running training camps for cyclists with disabilities. Pam, a competitive cyclist, made her first trip to the U.S. Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs in 1993. Over the next 20 years, Pam's desire to become the best blind competitive cyclist in the world was realized over and over again as she competed in regional, national, and international events. By the time Pam retired from competitive cycling in 2003, she was a double gold medalist and world record holder in the 2002 World Championships, a double gold medalist in the 2001 European Championships for disabled cyclists, and a gold and silver medalist and world record holder in the 2000 Paralympic Games in Sydney, Australia. At 5'3" tall, Pam seems unlikely to be a power athlete, but her path to Olympic glory is even more improbable. Diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 4, she learned to manage her condition well enough to become a two-sport high school athlete in basketball and softball. Arriving from Connecticut to attend Wheelock College, she was 3 weeks into her freshman year when she learned she was losing her eyesight to diabetic retinopathy. Over the next 4 years, she was declared legally blind and experienced kidney failure. She underwent dialysis treatment 3 times per week while studying and completed her bachelor's degree in education in 1985 to a standing ovation. Shortly after receiving her college degree, Pam received a successful kidney transplant operation. It was one of more than 30 surgeries she had since her illness began. With her condition stabilized and with support from the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind, she completed rehabilitation training for her vision loss at the Carroll Center for the Blind in 1987. She then began working for the Massachusetts Association for the Blind. While employed by MAB, Pam pursued her love of sport by founding Team with a Vision, a team of blind, partially sighted, and sighted runners to compete in the Boston Marathon. Now a marathon tradition, the group continues to run every year to raise money for blindness organizations and to educate the public about the abilities of people with disabilities. It remains one of Pam's proudest accomplishments. Following her transplant, Pam worked to regain her health. She was introduced to cycling while working at a volunteer recruitment fair for MAB, where a recruiter at an adjacent table was looking for cyclists to raise money for cancer. People with visual disabilities participate in the sport with tandem bikes. A tandem team consists of a sighted pilot in the front and a non-visual stoker in the rear. Pam didn't have a bicycle or a pilot, but approached the recruiter anyway. "It sounded like fun," she exclaimed. "Tell people what you want to do," she was advised, "and the rest will fall into place." Within a month, a local company had donated a tandem bike, and she discovered that a volunteer she was training for MAB was a former Olympic bobsledder who was willing to pilot. "I got lucky," Pam laughed. The new team began participating in fundraising rides for American Diabetes Association. I was hooked on tandem cycling after my first ride, Pam remembered. Going that fast was a great experience. Along with the luck went 2 decades of intense work with a coach, sometimes on a stationary trainer in our musty basement, and sometimes on the road. Pam competed in long-distance road races as well as short indoor races on a track or velodrome. She soon discovered that her true talent was as a sprinter. She draws on the sensory training skills that she learned at the Carroll Center to orientate herself to an oval track, implementing different racing strategies at different points in the race by using the announcer's voice on the loudspeaker as a reference point. When Pam and her partner Al Whaley competed in the 2000 Sydney Paralympic Games, they established a new world record and Paralympic record in the 1-kilometer Tron trial and became the first American tandem team to bring home a gold medal. Additionally, the pair won a silver medal in the match sprints. Pam competed in the event with a broken foot, and the U.S. Olympic Committee recognized Pam and her partner for their determination and courage by naming them as recipients of the Olympic Spirit Award. Since retiring from competition, Pam has returned to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado as an employee of the United States Association of Blind Athletes, running training camps for other cyclists with disabilities. We teach people to race, not ride, Pam said. In this capacity, she recruits riders and sighted pilots, selects up to 24 participants, hires coaches and bicycle mechanics, plans the schedule for the camp, handles logistics, and secures funding through grants and corporate sponsors. The support she has received from the Mass Commission for the Blind has also enabled her to utilize technology to the fullest. Without MCD's help, Pam would not be able to negotiate her work database, create her playlist of spin music, or manage her nationwide communication for the cycling camps. In addition, orientation and mobility instruction has provided her with the ability to travel independently, both locally and internationally. Through competitive racing, Pam has traveled to 7 countries and has met amazing people. She credits cycling with restoring her health and sees her work as a chance to give something back to the sport. Pam lives in Needham with her guide dog Cameron. For the last 10 years, Pam has taught spin classes to sighted students, bringing her guide dog to class with her. She also holds a day job working in sales for a facility service company. She is an active disability advocate and has testified before congressional subcommittees several times on behalf of diabetes research with the Jaws on Diabetes Center, where she served on the Board of Overseers. I think life is so incredibly precious, but I don't want to spend a minute not experiencing the world. I want to show people if I can do it, they can do it, Pam explains. I keep busy because I can, and as long as I can, I will. We'd like to welcome Pam Fernandez into the Carroll Society.
Okay. Congratulations, Pam. I invite now Bunny Schumann up to read the next profile.
Good afternoon. I have the pleasure this afternoon of presenting to you Otoniel Orozco. How was that? OT is a reservation agent at Metro West Transit Authority in Framingham, where he has been employed since March of 2011. OT, as he is called by his friends, spends most of his day on the computer and telephone, answering with his colleagues between 50 to 150 calls a day for transportation rides. He is one of 7 agents. OT uses Zoom text to enlarge his computer screen, a handheld pocket-sized video magnifier called Ruby, both provided by the Mass Commission for the Blind, and the Adept telephone program he received on-the-job training. Sorry about that. OT loves his job. He gets a ride to work and then takes the commuter rail and the bus back home to Worcester. He works full-time and interacts with many and varied constituencies during the day. I want to provide the best customer service I can to those who call and rely on Metro West Transit to get them where they need to go, he said. I might take a call from a person who requires dialysis or from someone who must see a loved one in a hospital. My work is important to me, and I want to do the best job I can each and every day. I really enjoy helping my community. OT's supervisor, Lisa Long, agrees. OT is calm and collected and a pleasure to work with, she said. His voice is soothing, and I think that goes a long way towards helping make our clients comfortable with each transaction. Both OT and his sister suffer from a form of blindness called albinism. His 2 other sisters were not affected by the disease. OT's mother first noticed his eye problem when he began school. OT recalls that his dad gave him a bicycle and left it to OT to figure out how to ride it. And after a few abrupt meetings with a tree and a bumpy sidewalk, the bicycle was mastered. Neither of my parents put any limits on me. They didn't dissuade me from trying anything. In his early school years in Framingham, his teacher of the visually impaired, Judy Perry, made a huge impact on him. His mother registered him with the Mass Commission for the Blind, and OT's caseworker, Russell Lebrecht, became his mentor. OT admits that he gave Russell a hard time, but the 2 of them developed a mutual understanding. It was Russell who suggested that OT get training at the Carroll Center. I'm here at Metro West Regional Transportation because of him, he said. The Mass Commission for the Blind provided me with the tools, but making it work, this is on me. Just treat me like anyone else, and I'll prove myself. Not one to sit idly by. OT also attended Salter College in West Boylston, Massachusetts, and received a certificate in culinary arts and worked as a sous chef for about a year. He's a great cook, and one of his favorite activities is baking with his 2 sons, OT Jr. and Jacob. They love to roll the dough and make different kinds of pizza, he said. His kids think he is a force of nature when it comes to cookies. And together they make great recipes and spend quality time together. As a way to get back, OT teaches One Touch, a self-defense program designed specifically for those who are blind or visually impaired. Developed by Professor Stephen Nichols, One Touch is a set of techniques which makes use of body movements and leverage that do not require either sight or unusual strength to be effective. All moves and techniques are described verbally and are demonstrated hands-on. Neither age nor gender need be a barrier. The class inspires empowerment and acknowledges the human right of self-protection for all people, both blind and sighted. OT is a certified instructor, offering both group and individual trainings, and welcomes the opportunity to share his understanding of this method of self-defense with others. I am humbled to be nominated, he said, but I don't do this work alone. I work with a great team at Metro West, along with Lisa Long, my supervisor, who is a great support. OT is accompanied today by his supervisor, Lisa Long. Please welcome him into the Carroll Society. Happy days. One more. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful.
Congratulations, OT. Easier to say than anything. Jason Wallenstein. Jason works full-time as an IT technical analyst for TJX Companies in Marlborough, Mass., where he has been employed since 2010. So just what is a technical analyst, you may ask, or at least I do. Jason spends most of his time analyzing data from the TJX family of stores and makes sure the store's computer systems are running smoothly. He uses zoom text to enlarge the screen when needed and to enlarge the cursor to navigate around his Windows computer. He also uses a laptop computer for when he works remotely at home. Additionally, he uses a video magnifier to read printed material. These adaptive devices were provided to him by the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind. He travels with a cane and lives close enough to work that he takes a cab for the 10-minute ride. Jason grew up in Sharon, Massachusetts, and graduated from the University of Hartford with a degree in TV production. With few job prospects in the film and TV industry, he decided to further his education in information technology with credits towards a master's degree in IT at Northeastern University. And he earned 4 professional certifications in Microsoft, IT networks, and IT network security. He had been working at EMC, but was laid off 6 months before he lost his vision. Jason was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 9. But when he was 27 years old, his doctor suggested he use an insulin pump, which was a relatively new device at the time. Shortly after, he began to lose his vision from diabetic retinopathy. 2 years of surgeries and having to lay flat for long periods of time put his life on hold. In 1 year, he lost his job, his vision, and his friends because he could not socialize. When his vision stabilized, his mother suggested he contact the Mass Commission for the Blind, which referred him to the Carroll Center, where he attended the independent living program and learned to travel and live independently. He also learned about Sail Blind. Jason's father was an avid sailor, and he grew up sailing both on Lake Massapequa and Sharon and on the ocean. Jason joined the Sail Blind program immediately and has been sailing in regattas across the globe with the Carroll Center Sail Blind team ever since. Jason states he's a much better sailor as a blind person than he was when he was sighted. In 2009, he competed in the International Sail Blind Regatta in New Zealand, where he earned a bronze medal, and he competed again last year in Japan. Jason had a hard time re-entering the work world after his rehabilitation. He was turned away from many jobs because the interviewer could not see how a person with vision loss could do the job. But through persistence, he got a position at TJX. TJX has been impressed with his ability to do the job even with his vision loss. He started as a consultant and was finally hired full-time as part of an IT technology team last year. Jason is married to his wife, Alexandra, and they have a 4-year-old daughter, Hannah, and they just purchased a new home. What he learned at the Carroll Center, he has been able to apply in all aspects of his life. For example, he said, the method of learning to wipe a table clean in a pattern has now enabled him to mow his own grass and snowplow his own driveway using the same pattern. Other than sailing, biking is a favorite family activity they all do together. Jason uses an adult recumbent tricycle with his daughter behind him, who navigates him on the bike path. Jason today is accompanied by Brian Fisher. Please welcome into the Carroll Society, Jason Wallenstein. The recipient of the Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment is chosen from previously selected members of the Carroll Society as one who best exemplifies the highest standards of an outstanding employee and a positive influence on others, as well as someone who gives back to their community. This year's recipient of the Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment exemplifies all of these qualities. It is my distinct honor to introduce you to the 2014 Blind Employee of the Year, Mike Catarazzulo. Give me a few minutes. You'll get your turn. Mike Catarazzulo began his career at Perkins School for the Blind at the age of 19 when he was hired to care for 2 deafblind youngsters when they were not in class. 55 years later, Mike is still at Perkins, where he continues to dedicate his time, talent, and considerable energy to improve the lives of people who are disabled. Mike has been the manager of volunteers and tours for the last 25 years. He has recruited and trained countless volunteers who, in turn, have donated thousands of hours to Perkins. Before moving to volunteer services, Mike had been a teacher and head of the physical education and athletic program at Perkins for many years. Today, in addition to managing the volunteer program, he gives the best tours of anyone on campus and is especially adept at helping children understand what it's like to be blind. Mike knows the subject well, since he was born with a visual impairment. Originally from East Boston, Mike's visual impairment was not diagnosed until he was in the 4th grade. He attended Boston Public Schools and graduated from Roslindale High School without being able to read. In 1960, he was hired to work at Perkins School for the Blind for $20 a month and room and board. You can remember that day. He quickly found his vocation working with children. Although he was encouraged to go to college, he was not accepted due to his poor reading and writing skills. Then, when he was in his early 20s, a chance meeting changed his life forever. I thought I was incapable of learning, Mike recalls. I was telling my story to a doctor at the clinic at Mass General when Dr. Sloan walked by and overheard our conversation. He took me to his office and told me to try looking through these glasses with a magnifier and illumination device on the right side. It was called a Keeler magnifier, and it increased the size of print by 12 times. For the first time, I could read. Mike soon caught up on his education, reading 12 to 13 hours a day and taking courses, first at Newman Prep, then at Quincy Junior College. He was offered a position as a physical education teacher and wrestling coach at Perkins, on the condition that he complete his college degree. In the mid-60s, he took a leave from his job to finish his education at Boston University's Metropolitan College, earning a Bachelor of Science degree in Physical Education and Health and a teaching certificate. He continued to study on a part-time basis while working at Perkins, eventually receiving a Master's of Education at BU. He also began teaching adaptive physical education, focusing on techniques and methods for teaching children with visual impairment, and became an honorary faculty member at Boston University. In the early 70s, he attended Boston State College, where he was granted a Certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies in Education and Law. More than 10 years ago, Mike took another step in his continuing education, completing a rigorous process to become certified in his current profession through the Association of Volunteer Administrators. Besides finding his lifetime career at Perkins, Mike also met his wife, Patty, while both were working as teachers at the school. They were married in Perkins Chapel 39 years ago and raised their 2 children on Charles River Road, where they still live, right down the street from the school. The couple's daughter, Amy, is an interpreter for the deaf in Portland, Maine. Their son, David, is a hockey coach at Trinity College. Mike and Patty also have 2 granddaughters, Francesca and Stella. Patty is all about family, Mike says proudly. She lost her sight as well as her sense of taste and smell to a brain tumor. But that doesn't let her stop from volunteering at Perkins, singing and square dancing. She's my hero. An active member of the Watertown community, Mike has served as vice president and board member of the Commission on Disabilities. He was also a Little League coach and president of the Watertown Youth Hockey Program. Mike has received many honors throughout his career, including being named Man of the Year by the Watertown Tavern Press in 1999, being inducted into the Carroll Society in 2003, being recognized by Bridgewater State College for his many years of community service and support of professional development, and being named a hero among us by the Boston Celtics as a special honor for this avid sports fan. Over the years, Mike has touched the lives of thousands of Perkins students, staff, and volunteers, as well as people in the Watertown community and beyond. In his current job as coordinator of volunteer services, Mike works with hundreds of people, matching volunteers to the various needs of Perkins, in areas ranging from the infant toddler program to the Braille Talking Book Library to the Assistive Device Center. As he runs the volunteer program or leads a group around campus, Mike, by example, encourages people to view individuals with disabilities as people first, who can make a difference in the lives of others. I hope people look at me and say, there goes Mike, he's a nice guy, and not, he's a blind guy. Giving of oneself to others is the ultimate achievement in life. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce the recipient of the Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment as the 2014 Blind Employee of the Year, Matt Catazzulo. Before Mike comes up, we have a citation that's going to be presented to him by Brian. If you can hold your applause for just a minute.
I think Mike thought he'd get away without me saying anything. Ain't happening, buddy. You know, when you take a job, you get this thing called a job description. And few of us would deny that, in fact, a job description, well, my braille display played games on here.
I didn't
Yeah,
touch it.
I know. When applauding for Mike, I went and touched my touchscreen iPhone and it lost my place for me. Anyway, but we all know that the number one thing in any job description is that last line. Other duties as assigned. It's my pleasure to be a personal friend of Mike's. I spend a lot of my sports viewing time down in his man cave, taking nickels and dimes from him in the poker games we hosted down there. But you know, the number one thing that Mike does is act as everybody's unintentional mentor. It doesn't matter whether or not you're an employee at Perkins who has a vision loss, or if you are one of the students on campus, either today or 40 years ago. It doesn't matter if you're a volunteer who comes and through his coordination and his enthusiasm learns all about what blindness really means. He acts as a mentor to one and all. It's with pleasure that I get a chance to recognize him here today, both as a friend and as a mentor, and as what I hope someday people remember me for, a real contributing member of society, both in employment and after hours. And to do that, I'm going to present to him a little piece of paper here. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts House of Representatives has a resolution. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Michael Catazzulo in recognition of your, notice they personalize it, Michael, recognition of your outstanding achievement of admittance to the Carroll Society and selection as the 2014 Blind Employee of the Year. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good, is that right? Fortune? You don't have fortune. and continued success in all endeavors, except at the poker table. Given this 5th day of June 2014 and signed by the Speaker of the House, and if I've got his name right, Robert A. DeLeo, and submitted to the House by House Member Jonathan Hecht. Michael, congratulations both for this award and this proclamation.
Mike's going to come up and say a few words.
Oh, Mike. Oh, I love it. I got a mic in my hand, I'm not going to stop talking. Now, as an older individual, I hope Dave heard what they said about my salary.
The same deal they gave me.
I would like to thank the Carroll Center for this wonderful award. And realistically, I would like to say, because I believe in employment, we hear constantly about the unemployment rate for the blind. But I would like to share this award with the thousands of men and women who are blind and visually impaired in Massachusetts, who go to work every day and contribute, pay their taxes. To them, I'd like to share this award. It's part of their award as well. I've had a very successful life, and as you heard, when I was younger, I did go to the Boston Public Schools. Unfortunately, when I went to school in the 40s, I went to a Catholic school at first. Unfortunately, what do nuns know about someone that has a little bit of sight? They knew that you couldn't see, you were totally blind, or you had sight. As a partially sighted, low vision person, I had a problem. They tried to force me to see things that I couldn't see. My attitude was towards school very, very negative at that time. I became a discipline problem. I remember sitting underneath nuns' desks quite a bit. But my success, I think, and I know, has many, many factors which contributed to it. And the two major ones is my family. My family has always been there for me. They were supportive. They were eager to help. And I think key, they loved me. And I always felt during those times when I was frustrated, I felt very inferior to a lot of people because of my inability to read. I hardly ever spoke years ago. I used to be very, very shy. But I turned that all around now. So I'd like to just share a story to indicate what happened and why family is so important. When I first went to Perkins in 1960, I couldn't read, and I assumed that Perkins did not know. And like it was read, I was an attendant. I took care of 2 deafblind boys and during their off-school hours. And the first week of school is usually the staff goes back about 3 or 4 days before the kids come back, and You go to meetings. Well, I went to meetings and I was very shy. I'm sitting in what is called Potter Cottage, and they were talking about students, and they handed out all this material, and sweat started pouring down. I said, "Oh, gee, please don't let them ask me to read this, or I have to talk about it." But on the day I had off was Sunday. I rushed home with these papers, and I walked into my parents' home, and who was there? My loving sister. I said, "Dee, you got to help me." So she sat down and read these papers to me, and I felt much more confident. And I did that for 2 years. My day off, I would go home, I'd bring the papers that Perkins gave me to read, and she would read them to me and let me know. And I think my sister knew more about Perkins than I knew at that time. But that's one indication of family, loving family, there to support. And of course, Perkins. What can I say about Perkins? When I give tours to Perkins, I tell them I have a tremendous affection for the school. I came to Perkins at 19 years old. I met my wonderful wife. I had 2 wonderful children with Perkins. The staff I met helped me to grow. And one more story to show the affection you have to have for a school that is like Perkins. I was just starting on my career, and I was starting to learn to read. I had received a pair of glasses from the eye air clinic at the Mass General Hospital, and I was sitting in my room, and I'm trying to read, I'm trying to learn, and I've got these papers, and I'm reading A, B, C, D, and I'm learning words in this. And this teacher came by, this blind teacher, said, "Mike, what's up?" And I started talking to him about it. He said, "Oh, he says, why don't you do this, Mike? You know, after school, after I teach, and you have some time, we can get together and I'll teach you." And we started to work together. And then he said to me, "Mike, you know, it's about time," and we did this for about a year or so. After he said, "It's about time that you have to get some formal training in reading and stuff." And he says, "I know a place, a school." He said, "Newman Prep. It's now called Newman High School." But he said, I said, "Newman Prep." And I was still frightened about doing things independently like that, going to a place and asserting myself. He said, "Mike, don't worry, but I'll come with you." Here's this blind teacher, Leo, and myself, on the trolley from Watertown Square, heading to Newman Prep. And he came with me, and he helped me sign up. And I said, you know, who would do something like that? So there are many, many cases I can talk about that happened at Perkins that motivated me, that kept me going. And like I say, I have this deep affection. I have my wife, my children. I live close to Perkins. So Perkins has been my family. I've been there for half a century. It's kind of scary to think 55 years have gone by so fast. Where have they gone? But it has been a wonderful experience. And it's all I can say is I thank Perkins for what they've done. I also have strong, strong feelings for the Carroll Center. I was telling Dina that in 1963, when I really started my career at college and stuff, I needed a reader. And who did I contact? The Catholic Guild for the Blind. And the Catholic Guild for the Blind was Carroll Center. I got the most dynamic reader I ever had. She would come to the library with me, read articles. Well, she was really a mentor, and she was a helper to me. And also, this fellow that just got up here, my friend over here, who takes my money, brought in the Carroll Center. I came to the Carroll Center. The Carroll Center brought me to the 21st century when it comes to technology. Brian was my teacher. He taught me how to use the computer, and I want to thank him. So I have a very deep affection for the Carroll Center and for Perkins. And I'd like to thank you again very, very much for this wonderful honor, and thank you.